It's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Oh, can anything stay the same? What a tragic day it is. I shouldn't say tragic. It's a bittersweet day. Grateful for all the years that Toby and TJ have entertained and informed all of you across the state, across the country, and across the globe here on the airwaves of the Ref. But today was our grand farewell to the T-Row in the Morning Show. I tell you, Grayson, this is it's kind of inexcusable on my part. So I did go to the Mont earlier where we were having the little celebration send-off for Toby and TJ. Plank and Josh did their show remotely. Coach Stoops showed up. We had ourselves a grand old time. I realized I don't think I've been to the Mont since the Lincoln Riley era.
Why?
I think it's been 4+ years since I went to the Mont.
I've been to the Mont more times than that, and I haven't even lived here a year.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how I went that long without patronizing the Mont. But finally made it back, had a meal at the Mont, had some queso.
Get you a swirl?
Had a little Cuban sandwich. You know I'm not a swirl guy. Come on now.
I'm messing with you.
But yeah, I had a little Cuban sandwich. They got a good Cuban at the Mont. They got good everything at the Mont. Here's what I appreciate most about the Mont. Those prices, and I tell you, last time I went to the Mont, I guess would have been towards the tail end of COVID. Those prices have not changed since the pandemic, man.
You were talking about things staying the same.
If nothing else has stayed the same, the prices at the Mont have stayed the same. You can get a burger for like $6.
Mm-hmm.
Where else can you do that in 2025? Mad respect to the Mont. I think the last time I was there would have been February of 21 with the girl I was dating at the time. She was on the OU women's basketball team.
Oh,
and
really?
So yes, and I think that is the last time that I've ever been to the Mont before today. So it's been almost 4.5 years. Inexcusable. If today did nothing else for me, it reminded me that I've got to get to the Mont more frequently. So, lessons learned today. We proceed here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. This is Locked In, brought to you by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. We're going to be talking OU football and recruiting for the next hour, and then I'm really excited. I get to do the Rush from 3 to 6 with Ted. Always a good time hanging with the Butkus Award winner. So looking forward to talking for the next 4 hours here with all of you across the Sooner State. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Again, 651-3439. Well, Grayson, we're getting to that point on the calendar where there's recruiting and there's not much of anything else. The College World Series is winding down in Omaha. And then once July hits, and I guess we're less than 2 weeks away from July hitting now, that's when we start getting the ESPN 8 The Ocho programming.
Mm-hmm.
It's like cornhole and kickball and archery. But there's always recruiting. And we're going to keep things lively on this show over the course of the next month and a half as we try to bridge the gap between OU softball and baseball season and the beginning of fall camp for OU football. Now, Oklahoma, as many of you know, yesterday picked up commitment number 11 in the 2026 cycle. 4-star running back Zephan Walker. We talked about that at length. And now the question becomes, who is next? Who might be next to jump on board for the University of Oklahoma? And there are some very clear candidates here. One candidate would be 4-star cornerback Danny Odom out of the state of Florida, who is finishing up his official visit slate this week with trips to Penn State and Nebraska. and will make a decision 6 days from now, June 23rd. Another candidate, however, and a far more high-profile candidate, even though Danny Odom is the higher-ranked of the two prospects right now, is a guy that's showing up at the Elite 11 today. Bowe Bentley. And it's interesting. I don't know how much those of you that listen to the show pay attention to recruiting on a national basis as opposed to just the guys that OU is recruiting. But there was a very highly anticipated flip that finally took place today. 4-star quarterback Jet Tamala from my hometown of Omaha, Nebraska, flipped his commitment from Iowa State to Alabama. And I think the reason why the decision, though it had been trending that way for a while, was made with finality today is because Jet Tamala knew that as soon as he showed up to the Elite 11, he was going to have to answer a ton of questions about where his recruitment stood between Iowa State and Alabama. Now, interesting wrinkle to that whole Tamala saga, it appears that Iowa State's backup plan involves a kid from right here in the Sooner State. They're beginning an official visit later today with Easton Webb, the quarterback up at Sand Springs, who's been mentioned on this show before as a potential late eval offer guy for Oklahoma, possibly. If
baseball player committed to Oklahoma State.
Formerly committed to Oklahoma State.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
He decommitted. I can't recall if it was yesterday or it was Sunday. But, yes, recently decommitted from Oklahoma State. His recruitment is wide open. Recently took an OV to Georgia Tech, and he starts an OV with Iowa State today. So that appears to be the Cyclones' backup plan. But the reason I bring that up is because, again, I think Tamala probably realized I got to make the call before I go to the Elite 11 because otherwise it's just going to be a really long few days for me in terms of just dealing with the media circus. The Elite 11 starts today. It's June 17th. Bowe Bentley still hasn't made the decision between LSU and Oklahoma, which means he's going to deal with the media circus in its peak form when he arrives at the Elite 11. On the one hand, kind of surprised that he didn't just make the call before heading out to Los Angeles for the event. But on the other hand, it just kind of tracks with the entire flow of the Bowe Bentley recruitment to this point, which is this is a kid that's operating on his own wavelength, marching to the beat of his own drum. Regardless of what the rest of the country, pundits, radio hosts, reporters, people like you and I think of the way he's navigating his recruitment, he's never changed his outlook, never changed his approach for anybody. And so as we sit here on the 17th, still waiting, still wondering. Meanwhile, Jaden O'Neal, Oklahoma's quarterback commit, is finishing up an OV today down at Florida State. So a very complicated couple of weeks it has been. And a very complicated couple of weeks it will be for Oklahoma. We're going to get the chance to talk to Jaden O'Neal. And, I may see if we can get him on the show with us next Monday because he's going to be up at the Rivals 5-Star in Indianapolis. I will be doing the show remotely from Indianapolis Monday and Tuesday of next week. So, Jaden O'Neal, OVing Florida State as we speak, still verbally committed to Oklahoma. It's pretty much become those two schools at the forefront. OU, Florida State. Florida State made a run at Keyshawn Henderson. That was unsuccessful. Jaden O'Neal has once again kind of reemerged as their top guy. They're angling for a flip. Oklahoma maintains the verbal, and then you have Bentley that is still waffling as of now between OU and LSU. Grayson, I know we've about exhausted this discussion. It feels like we're talking about this every day. But this is the biggest storyline when it comes to Oklahoma recruiting that exists right now, is the situation at quarterback. Have your feelings changed at all over the last week or so, just given how all of this has unfolded with Bentley and O'Neal independently of one another?
No.
Really?
Not one bit. I think Jaden probably doesn't end up in Oklahoma's class, and I think Bentley's still a coin flip, whether he ends up in Oklahoma or LSU's class. Here's the new angle that we have, though, for Bowe Bentley. if Bentley's going to be a good starting quarterback in the SEC, he's going to find out one annoying thing about that this weekend at the Rivals camp, and that is dealing with the media, because he will get the full court press, the all-out blitz from the media. And look, he probably is already prepared for it. He probably already knows, if I'm going to go into this Rivals 11, the Elite 11, uncommitted, people are going to ask me a crap ton of questions.
Mm-hmm.
No, you are not ready for what's going to happen. No way in hell are you ready for what's going to happen. So he's going to find out real fast that if you're a high-profile athlete in the Southeastern Conference, you are going to get the media's best. And when I say best, I mean their best effort to get a quote from you. So it'll be interesting to see how he navigates those waters. Obviously, he's still a 17, 18-year-old kid, so you have no clue how that's going to go regardless. His personality leans me to believing that it's going to be fine, and that all is really going to happen is that he's just going to say a bunch of generic stuff and not really tip anybody off like you've articulated over the last week or so. But it will be very interesting to see if he lets anything slip during the myriad of questioning that he's going to receive.
The listener in the 713 says, Hayes Fawcett just put out the eyeballs. Any ideas?
I hate when he does that.
O'Neal to FSU? Listen, folks, I feel like we get questions like those a lot. And the answer is pretty straightforward in most cases. The eyeballs aren't about Oklahoma. There are, 60 other Power 4 schools or thereabouts that the eyeball emoji could be about? The overwhelming odds are that it's not about Oklahoma. And no, this one was not about Oklahoma. It was about running back commit KJ Edwards from Texas, or that just committed to Texas A&M from Carthage, Texas. So,
speaking of running backs committing, this happened 10 minutes ago. Ryan Estrada just committed to nowhere else but Minnesota.
Yeah. How's that for out of left field?
What is, you know what, and can we stay on this for just a minute or so? What's going on with Minnesota? Because they've been on kind of a roll with this 2026 class as of late.
Minnesota. So I literally just got a text about Estrada's announcement right before you brought that up. Minnesota? For an El Paso kid?
Yeah, that cannot be two more contradicting cultures.
Bonkers.
Nuts.
Bonkers, especially because he was supposed to arrive in Oklahoma for an official visit today or yesterday, I think. The word was his flight was delayed. He was going to be getting in a little bit later than usual. I got to make a couple calls and see whether OU is still expecting him or if he has made it to campus, because as of yesterday, they were still expecting Estrada to show up for his official visit. Now he's committed to Minnesota? Okay. Recruiting Boomer says Minnesota's campus is freaking beautiful. I'll take your word for it.
I will take your word for it, too.
Cody from Tulsa says Minnesota is where you go to die, LOL, if you know what I mean. Spence in Tulsa says snake oil salesman PJ Fleck. That's what's going on.
Does PJ Fleck still wear the sweater and tie underneath it with the dress shirt when he coaches?
Yes, he does. There is no one quite like PJ Fleck. He is a unique character. But Ryan Estrada, what's especially odd, too, is that it's not even like Oklahoma was the only official visit he had yet to take. He had Oklahoma, and then he had Alabama this weekend.
Yeah. What
he was going to Oklahoma and then Alabama.
What kicked Minnesota, of all the schools, over the likes of Alabama and Michigan?
Look, I have no freaking clue. I will be straightforward about that. I have no freaking clue. I absolutely do not know how all of a sudden this recruitment went from, Oklahoma, Alabama, Michigan, wrapping up with OVs to OU and Bama, and then boom, all of a sudden he's off the board to Minnesota. Bonkers. Jake from Wisconsin says, Minnesota's campus is beautiful if you like liberal communism and freezing cold winters. I'm from Minnesota, and I would never go there. It is freaking cold up there.
I would say it's just too cold. Forget the politics. That aside, it's too cold for me up there.
And Mike S. says, bag of money. And Okay, is it very likely that that had something to do with it? Yes, it is. I don't know that for 100% fact. Again, this happened 10 minutes ago. I've been on the air ever since. I have not had the chance to really dig into why it became Minnesota out of nowhere for Ryan Estrada, but there you go. I think that makes Oklahoma's weekend experience with Zathan Walker that culminated in a commitment all the more pivotal now in hindsight, because if you're still waiting on Walker to go to Nebraska this weekend for his final official, if they hadn't convinced Walker to commit on Sunday before he wrapped up his official visit to Oklahoma, I guarantee you, the folks up at Nebraska would have been willing to go to lengths to which they might not otherwise have gone if they were still on track to host Walker and they saw that, Oklahoma's only other running back target all of a sudden just committed to Minnesota out of nowhere. At that point, I bet you Nebraska would have just said, we're getting to Zathan Walker. We're going to take him from Oklahoma, regardless of what it takes.
They would have dropped an ungodly amount of money.
Evan from Blanchard says, the Marcus Major effect. Didn't Marcus Major get an NFL contract with, like, the Ravens or somebody? Marcus
I want to say he
Major.
did.
The Marcus Major experience, man, that was 4 straight years, 20 to 23. He was a true freshman in 2019. And he might have actually, I think he played in a couple games that year, but from 20 to 23, every single fall, it was the exact same thing. Marcus Major looks really good. Marcus Major's trending to be RB1 in this backfield. And then the season would open up, and Marcus Major would have a nice carry or two in non-con where maybe he broke a couple tackles or burst out for a 20, 25-yard run. And you're feeling like, okay, there it is. And then you wouldn't see him again the rest of the year.
On our YouTube chat, by the way, Jeff Fellows says, are we still in good standing with Kevin Ford Jr. and Jake Krell?
Look, folks, and it's not often I get to this place. I don't like to be in this place, but I'll be transparent when I am. I don't have a freaking clue what's going to happen in KJ Ford's recruitment. I don't have a single clue. That kid does not give anything away whatsoever. I guarantee you right now, there may be schools that express some degree of confidence in where they stand with KJ Ford. Oklahoma has certainly been one of them over the last few months. Nobody knows what's going on in that kid's head. Nobody. Regardless of what he's telling them, regardless of the conversations that are being had on phone lines with the coaches and staffs at the schools that are pursuing him, nobody has the faintest idea where KJ Ford's head is actually at. Was there a text that took you aback?
There was. I'm not going to read it on air, but look on the monitor and you can see which one I'm talking about.
Yes, Bob from Cement. Bob from Cement showed up to Toby and TJ's send-off party at the Mont this morning. So I got to chat with Bob.
Are we just going to leave
Interesting fellow.
We're just going to leave that one at that.
A very interesting fellow. Probably not who you imagine him to be based on his text line activity. A character, to be certain.
Yeah, I don't know. I did meet Gator earlier today. I left and came back here before you got there.
Okay, yeah.
I did meet Gator today, and Patrick.
Yeah, there were quite a few listeners. Quite a few listeners
fantastic.
that got out there and gave their best wishes to Toby and TJ as TJ embarks on his next career as a YouTube yahoo, and Toby makes the transition to News 9. We will miss them. Different times around here. Different times.
The sports director and the YouTube yahoo.
405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. So, sorry, that segment, I guess, kind of got derailed by the bit of breaking news. Ryan Estrada to Minnesota. I'm going to have to do a little bit of homework as to what happened there. What in the world happened there? But that is the news. Fresh at the top of the hour, Oklahoma running back target Ryan Estrada, 4-star from El Paso, Texas, going to the University of Minnesota. Wild times. Stay with us. We're going to talk more OU football and recruiting on the other side. Many more storylines to cover over the course of the program today. You want to chime in, again, by all means do so. 651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Keep it right here.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
Considering refinancing your mortgage? Now might be the perfect time to start planning. With rates on the move, Stride Bank can help you determine if you may be able to lower your monthly payments, shorten your loan term, or tap into your home's equity. Stride's expert mortgage advisors will work with you to tailor a solution that fits your needs. With local roots and national reach, Stride Bank is your go-to partner for all your banking needs. Stride Bank, your trusted financial partner since 1913. Find out more at stridebank.com. Stride Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
That twinge in your knee isn't going to wait until Monday, and neither do we. At Orthostat, we've expanded, so you get better hours, better facilities, and the same great care. Open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. Whether it's sprains, strains, fractures, or joint pain, from knuckles to knees and every joint in between, our same-day, affordable care gets you back to life faster. Visit OuchOrthostat.com to learn more.
Insurance companies aren't in the business of saving you money, they're in the business of taking your money. Hi, this is Will Gosney with Yala Gosney Attorneys at Law. Have you ever had an insurance claim and thought, wow, I really am in good hands, or these folks truly are treating me like a neighbor? Well, that's where we can help. We'll deal with the stress, we'll get you back to your normal life. So save our number in your phone, and if you're ever hurt in a wreck, call or text us at 405-800-8080. It's 405-800-8080.
Hi, Josh Helmer here for my friends at Auto Image USA in Norman, where they have everything you need to upgrade your ride. At Auto Image USA, they have so many services for you like paint correction, window tint, paint protection film, or maybe you want that boat, RV, or car looking brand new in the interior again with the top-of-the-line detailing. Plus, you can get their Enviro Shield paint and interior fabric protection backed by their 3 or 5 year warranty. Call them today, 405-321-4444. They are the best. Check them out.
Hey Sooner fans, it's almost football season, and there's no better time to gear up than right now at Balfour of Norman, your locally owned headquarters for all things Sooner. Whether you're searching for your new lucky game day polo, tee, or hat, we've got you covered from top brands like Nike, Jordan, and Tommy Bahama. Looking to take your tailgate or watch party up a notch? Check out our great selection of OU glassware, flags, and serving pieces. Come support local, stock up on Sooner style, and get ready to yell Boomer Sooner, only at Balfour of Norman, where Sooner spirit lives year-round.
The Cornhole Tournament is back at Buffalo Wild Wings. Come out to the Bixby Buffalo Wild Wings on Saturday, July 12th. Registration begins at 11 a.m. with the tournament starting at noon. You can enjoy $2, $3, or $4 drink specials during the event, plus great prizes for first, second, and third place, along with many other great prizes, including a grand prize of Ultra Cornhole boards. Join Buffalo Wild Wings in Bixby, July 12th, starting at noon for the 2025 Summer Cornhole Tournament.
Wild Wings, wings, beer, sports.
Every year, millions of pets go missing, leaving families heartbroken. If you lose or find a pet, Love Lost is here to help. Our free, easy-to-use database uses photo matching technology across multiple social media platforms to bring lost pets home. Just upload a photo and quickly search the largest national lost and found pet database. Let's unite to reunite, because every lost pet deserves to find their way home. Register today at lovelost.org.
It is locked in here on the Ref. The home of Sooner fans, Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton. And you knew it was coming, Grayson. A 405 listener has chimed in on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line to say, okay, I'll be that guy. So now we're losing recruiting battles to Minnesota and that goober? Evidently, Grayson, this is not something that everyone has grown accustomed to, but it's something that everyone is going to need to grow accustomed to. We are in the NIL era of recruiting. And in the NIL era of recruiting, you, speaking of course, the University of Oklahoma, your school, your program, your football team, is going to lose recruiting battles, even as a blue blood college football institution, to schools that you have not traditionally lost recruiting battles to. I can't recall the last time Oklahoma lost a recruiting battle to Minnesota. Shoot, Oklahoma and Minnesota have very little overlap in terms of the athletes that they're recruiting. However, NIL has leveled the playing field to an extent in recruiting because it's all about how much an institution values a given player. Let's just say, for the sake of the hypothetical, and this is all hypothetical to be clear, these numbers are not real. I hope that is understood. But let's just say that Oklahoma, having evaluated Ryan Estrada thoroughly and extended him an offer, puts his value, his monetary value, at $300,000. Let's say that to Oklahoma, Ryan Estrada is a $300,000 football player. Well, Minnesota, on the other hand, because they realize they're recruiting mostly from the three-star pool. They're not recruiting on the same level as Oklahoma. They're in a much easier place to be able to spend luxuriously, if you will, to even overspend.
Sure.
On a player that is a mid-tier four-star guy than Oklahoma is, because Oklahoma has to worry about accommodating 10, 12, even 15 other four-star talents in their recruiting class. Minnesota might only have 4 or 5 of those guys. And so Minnesota, looking at where they're at NIL-wise, they decide we can spend $500,000 on Ryan Estrada. If you are Ryan Estrada, and I know it can be difficult for some fans to get their minds out of the fan box and remove the fandom component, but if you're Ryan Estrada and you're looking at it completely neutrally and you're just simply looking at the fit, the opportunity that exists at each of those schools, as well as the compensation that's on the table, and you have the chance to play for $300,000 at the University of Oklahoma or $500,000 at the University of Minnesota, I don't know that if you had 100 Ryan Estradas, all 100 of them are going to pick Minnesota over Oklahoma. But you certainly understand why a guy in that type of situation would lean Minnesota. $200,000? And again, we're talking purely hypothetical numbers here. But if the difference is something to that effect, that's a lot of money, Grayson.
It's a lot more money than I've ever had in my life, I'll tell you
that.
that.
No joke. $200,000 is a lot of money. There are very few of us that wouldn't take a new job elsewhere, even if it wasn't as stellar of a job in the eyes of the outside world, for an extra $200,000.
Here's the other side of this that we have to look at. Oklahoma just signed Zayfin Walker. Alabama usually has 3 or 4 running backs on the back burner ready to go. The same could reasonably be said for Michigan. What if Ryan Estrada evaluates all the situations and says, this is where I can go make my mark sooner? I mean, that's on the table too. Maybe he can get on the field his freshman year. Maybe he has an easier track to getting on the field his sophomore year, where he can showcase his abilities. Because whether or not you end up at a particular program, the reality of the situation is once you get past this little season, which is your recruitment, going into college, you are remembered by how you produce, whether that's at Minnesota or whether that is at Oklahoma or Alabama. And it's better to be remembered as a dude who produced. What if he rips off 1,500 yards in 2 years? 2 years down the line from now, he has a 1,500-yard season. We're probably going to remember him more for doing that than we would have if he was splitting carries with 3 other dudes at Oklahoma. So there is that goes along with it too. Also, keep this in mind with Minnesota. Did they beat USC last year? Did they beat the Trojans last year?
I can't recall, but if they did, I mean, USC lost to a lot of teams over the last couple of years.
Here's my point with that, Parker. The Big Ten signed that media deal with CBS. It now has that 2:30 slot that's not the SEC. Teams like Minnesota have more visibility now. And that can play a role into your market value in terms of the NIL. I think he went here for a business. I think it's an interesting business decision, all said and done, that Ryan Estrada made.
Glenn from Nashville says, last I checked, the kid also has Alabama on his list. So evidently, Alabama is also losing recruiting battles to that Minnesota goober. I'm more worried about our quarterbacks than I am about this running back from El Paso. And again, after landing DeZephon Walker yesterday, I don't know that you felt as much like Ryan Estrada was a guy you had to have. Would he be nice? Certainly. But I voiced this from the get-go. I'm not being intellectually dishonest when I say this. Anybody that listens to the show on a daily basis can attest to this. I've always had reservations about Ryan Estrada as a prospect. I thought that was probably a little bit of a reach on Oklahoma's part. Is there potential? Certainly. But he looks less ready-made for the college game than a guy like DeZephon Walker anyway. And so who's to say that to a certain extent he himself is not aware of that and just feels like he's more in his element at a place like Minnesota than he would be risking being out of his depth somewhere like Alabama or Michigan or Oklahoma. And so, yeah, would you have liked to have this guy in the class for OU? Sure you would. But does it feel like the end of the world because he all of a sudden decided to shut down his recruitment, forego OVs to OU and Alabama, and commit to Minnesota? No, I don't think so. A 405 listener says, even for $200,000 extra, I couldn't deal with PJ Fleck.
He's a character.
Oh, man. I wonder how long he's going to have that job. I wonder how long. Like, is he going to be their Matt Campbell? Or at some point, is he going to want to get out of Dodge and see something different? Because he was at Western Michigan before Minnesota, and that was, close to a decade ago? He's been at Minnesota for quite a while now. Western Michigan went to a New Year's Six Bowl. I want to say that was 2016. And Fleck then parlayed it into the Minnesota job. So, I don't know. Maybe he is their Matt Campbell. But big recruiting win for PJ Fleck and the Minnesota staff, going toe-to-toe and winning over Oklahoma, Alabama, and Michigan for four-star running back Ryan Estrada.
A texter in the 405 says, what exactly is different about that goober? Oh, 56% winning percentage versus 58. Both are culture guys. One just dresses better.
Yikes.
I wouldn't say one dresses better. I feel like one just wants to make you think he's more sophisticated.
Yes, PJ Fleck definitely, it wouldn't shock me if we found out he was a Mensa member, just like Tom Herman. Brent Venables is a football guy. Brent Venables is from Central Kansas. Brent Venables wears T-shirts and athletic shorts, and he's not trying to be anything other than what he is, which is an old-school ball coach. Shady 580 Sooner says, I'd do something strange for some change, let alone $200K. LOL. I won't make you.
Yeah,
I won't make you disclose what the something strange is in this context.
Hey,
Shady 580.
Hey, FBI, we got one.
Jake from Wisconsin says, I hope he likes very bland, tasteless food. Minnesota is a bunch of Scandinavians who think pepper is spicy.
I just hope you like the cold, homie.
I think the last time I was in Minnesota was for a high school baseball tournament my senior year of high school. Not a whole lot going on up there. Some pretty country, though. I'll give it that. Went to a Twins game. They got a nice ballpark up there in Minneapolis. Jeff from OKC says, so you're saying Estrada would rather row a boat than win a championship? Look, Estrada's a hard guy to get a hold of, and so I don't know how soon we'll be able to hear or see him articulate the reasons he decided on Minnesota. But I have no doubt Minnesota put opportunity in front of him as well. Certainly there was money involved. There's always going to be money involved when you're dealing with a blue-chip prospect. No blue-chip prospect is going anywhere for free. But they probably also told him, hey, look, you can come here and be the guy. You'll be a guy at Oklahoma, Alabama, and Michigan, which, fact check, is probably true.
Correct.
You can come here and be the guy at the University of Minnesota. And Minnesota's actually had some decent backs in recent years, too. It's not like the cupboard has been bare in that regard. Marcus Major actually had a half-decent year last year.
He did.
At Minnesota, which I would not have anticipated. But who was the other kid? This was early 2020s. It's funny. You say early 2020s now as if that's in the distant past. That was like 4 years ago. Mo Ibrahim, that's who it was.
Yes.
Ibrahim was salty, man. That dude could play.
He could, yes.
I remember watching, that would have had to have been 21. They gave Ohio State all they could handle there for probably 3 quarters. That might have been, I think that was the season opener, conference opener, beginning of the season. I remember that. Mo Ibrahim had himself a day. Don in Tulsa says, maybe the kid just saw how they used Darius Taylor, thinks the fit is just perfect for him. A 740 listener up in Ohio says, running back is the last position of worry. Running backs depend far more on a good O-line than anything else. Save money on running backs and spend on O-line. And that I concur wholeheartedly with.
1,000%.
You know, I'm sure that's going to be a divisive take. There are some people that won't agree, and you're not obligated to. But you can get excellent production out of a modestly talented running back if he's running behind a strong O-line. For instance, I don't think anyone would have accused Kennedy Brooks of being a legit NFL prospect. But you know what Kennedy Brooks was? He was kind of the perfect guy to run behind the Oklahoma offensive lines of that era because he was patient. He'd sit there, wait for the holes to open up, and then once they did, he knew how to make some stuff happen. And he did for three 1,000-plus yard campaigns at the University of Oklahoma. And again, that's a guy that ran like a 4.62, I think, at his pro day. He was a bit of a plotter, but he got the job done in no small part because he had a really strong offensive line. And so if you're going to spend somewhere to try and cultivate a strong running game, I'd argue that in most cases, you are better off spending that money on offensive linemen than elite next-level running back talent.
I will say this, though, and Saquon Barkley, well, maybe not Saquon, probably not the best example of this, but when you get a special running back, spend on that. Spend on the special running back because that guy can elevate you even beyond the offensive line.
A 405 listener says, Marion Barber was from Minnesota back in the day. Marion Barber. We lost him too soon. Yeah, he passed, maybe 3 years ago? He had a pretty successful little stint in the NFL there for a little while with the Dallas Cowboys. But yeah, Minnesota, they've had decent running backs over the years. It makes some sense. Maybe it doesn't make perfect sense, but it makes some sense. Okay, 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Again, 651-3439. Let's hit a quick break. Hear from our sponsors. We'll be back to wrap up Locked In with more OU recruiting talk on the other side. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Do you eat, sleep, and breathe Sooner football? We do too. This is The Ref, home of Sooner fans.
Don't miss out on OKC's hottest entertainment at the Showplace Theater with acts like
Air Supply, July 25th. Tracy Lawrence, August 1st.
Time marches on.
Sammy Kershaw, August 15th.
No angel.
And Brett Michaels, September 27th.
Riverwind is OKC's favorite casino experience.
At Meals on Wheels of Norman, we deliver more than just meals. We deliver connection, compassion, and care to homebound seniors right here in our community. But we need your help. Volunteer drivers are the heart of what we do, and just a little of your time can make a big impact. Join our team, make a difference. Visit MealsOnWheelsNorman.com or contact us at 405-321-7272 to sign up as a volunteer and start serving smiles today.
What's up, Ref Army? It's Dusty Dvorak. Do you eat, sleep, and breathe football? KREF is the only place for the most comprehensive daily analysis of Sooner and college football. Catch me every Tuesday and Wednesday during the 10 a.m. hour of The Plank Show as I cut it up with Plank and Josh about everything in the world of Sooner and college football. That's every Tuesday and Wednesday on The Plank Show, and there's only one place to hear it. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Download the KREF app today to listen from anywhere.
Home is where memories are made, where life happens and love grows. And at Armstrong Bank, we can get you there. Whether you're buying a home, refinancing, renovating, or taking advantage of your home equity, we're here to help you make your next memories. Home is wherever you're headed. For more information, visit an Armstrong Bank location near you. Armstrong Bank. Strength runs in our family. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Visit Confidence Ford of Norman and receive employee pricing on our Ford lineup. But that's not all. We'll also give you a complimentary spray-in bed liner and window tint on all remaining new 2024 Super Duty trucks in stock, or save up to $10,000 on all remaining new 2024 Broncos. Drive the Ford you've always wanted from a team that puts you first. Visit us today, conveniently located at 825 North Interstate Drive. Confidence Ford of Norman, part of the Cavender Auto family, where confidence is Cavender.
They say if you don't like the weather in Oklahoma, wait 5 minutes and check it again. Nope, not there yet. Ah, that's more like it. Being comfortable is important, and if it's -5 degrees or 100 degrees, Norman Air has you covered. Our impeccable quality and unbeatable service is what sets us apart from our competitors. It's just part of our mission to keep Oklahoma comfortable. Visit normanair.com for all your heating, air, plumbing, and electrical needs. Norman Air, service to the max.
Hi, everybody. Toby Rowland here for one of my favorite places to golf, the Trails Golf Club in Norman. The Trails offers great golf activities for the entire family. Men's and Ladies Golf Association events, summer junior golf for the kids, plus club fittings throughout the year. The Trails also has great family social events, monthly special dinners, plus holiday brunches and catering. When you're looking for the perfect place to golf, check out the Trails Golf Club in Norman. Contact Zane Alexander today at 405-364-3790 or visit trailsgolf.com.
How do you give hope to a child in the foster care system? It starts with your heart. That tug you feel on yours when you hear that children are waiting for a stable, loving voice to speak up for their best interests. And then it becomes your time. What started out as a feeling that maybe you could make a difference becomes the difference. Change a child's story. There is a child waiting for a volunteer like you.
Contact South Central CASA at 405-360-5295.
It is locked in here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. One final segment here. The program brought to you today and every day by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. Make the short trek out there and let them get you set up with one of the top trucks and or SUVs on the road today. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton, hanging with all of you on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. That's 405-651-3439 if you want to chime in. The Champion Barbecue is upon us, Grayson. We are creeping ever closer. I almost said 3 hours away. I'm 3 hours away from being off work on this Tuesday. We are 3 days away from the Champion Barbecue kicking off.
It sounds like you can't wait for those 3 hours.
Oh, I like going home at the end of the day.
I do too.
It relaxes me.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was saying, we have 3 days until the Champion Barbecue kicks off on Friday. quite a few official visitors going to be coming to town. A good portion of them are committed. Oklahoma does have several commits that will be in town this weekend. And as we examine this list, Grayson, and kind of start to feel out who might be a likely candidate to commit, I think the most obvious one that's staring you right there in the face is Bowe Jandreau. Right? Like, you'd be really surprised if he wound up circling back around and committing to Texas or Oregon, given that OU is his last visit and his twin brother is already committed. So, Oklahoma's intentions at linebacker have been quite clear. They pulled off of recruiting Quebec, the 4-star linebacker from Carthage. They similarly pulled off of recruiting, who was the other one? Not Talanoa Ely, although, yes, they did kind of wind up out of the race. I think that was more Ely's choice than Oklahoma's. But they canceled all the other linebackers' official visits for the weekend of June 6th to kind of focus specifically on Braxton Lindsey that weekend. And now, heading into this June 20th through 22nd official visit weekend, Jandreau is the only linebacker that is among this crop. For a while, Ben Wenzel, who wound up committing to Wisconsin last month, was on tap for a Champion Barbecue official. But that's no longer in play. He is no longer in play. He's committed to the hometown school up at the University of Wisconsin. And so Jandreau will be the only linebacker on campus this weekend for Oklahoma, and it's pretty clear what OU wants to do with Ja'Cory Smith already on board. They want to close with Bowe Jandreau and Braxton Lindsey. Those are the two guys they want in this class.
When do you think Lindsey will make a decision?
July.
Okay.
July. That one, and it may not be early July either. Like, we may not get a decision from Braxton Lindsey on Independence Day, for instance. It may be a few weeks. Kind of like Bo Bentley, Lindsey has said that he wants to get through with his official visits and just sit on everything for a little while, think about it, talk about it with his family, pray about it, make a decision thereafter. Oklahoma and BYU, kind of the two lead contenders, and it's been that way for quite a while. So I would expect that by the end of July we have a decision from Lindsey. It'd be really surprising if Bowe Jandreau wasn't committed to Oklahoma by like this time next year.
Football, you love it.
Wow, we almost rolled a break way early there. Still here, folks.
You're gonna. There's something else in this studio.
Is it Drake?
I don't know.
Is Drake hiding somewhere?
I don't know because my hands are here. They are not anywhere close to the computer, so I have no idea why that just started.
The demons of technology out to get us once again.
Denver from Indiana says, I want Krell, period. The rest can, if I can get the computer to work, the rest can fall. Keep that D-line strong. Okay, you didn't answer this because we had a YouTube chat that asked about Ford and Krell. You answered Ford. You didn't answer Krell.
Still feel good about where Oklahoma sits with Krell. I think you have a short window of time to wrap things up before things really start to open up a lot more substantially. Because if Krell's recruitment lasts into the fall, which I think there's a good chance it might, then in the 3 months or 3-4 months, whatever it winds up being, between his OV to Oklahoma and the decision day, there's opportunity for so many other schools to make a charge at Krell and throw more money at him and incentivize him to come play at their institution beyond what they already have. And I don't think you have to look any further for evidence of this phenomenon, because it is a phenomenon, than the Felix Ojo recruitment. Did you see where he booked an official visit yesterday?
Yeah, which peculiar place was – I can't remember the school off the top of my head.
So he canceled his Oklahoma official visit for June 20th. We found out –
It's Utah.
It's Utah.
Yeah.
He's going to Utah this weekend. I don't think he's ever been to Utah. He's never spoken about Utah when I've talked to him or anybody else for that. But, like, that was just completely out of left field. Oh, he's OVing to Utah. Why would you OV to Utah? I can think of one reason and one reason only.
Go see the scenery.
Well, outside of wanting to go get some free food and stay in a nice hotel? What if Utah came to the table with a bunch of money for Felix Ojo? I mean, if they're hosting him on an official visit, that means they feel like they have a chance.
Right.
And why would they feel like they have a chance if they weren't willing to invest a ton of money?
But also ask this question. Who else are they investing a lot of money in right now?
And how much money is there in the operation at Utah? Because we know there's a lot of money wrapped up in the BYU program, so there's money out there.
Right.
Is there maybe just... Does Utah have more money than we know of, and maybe it just hasn't been publicized as highly as the BYU money?
Maybe.
Any way you slice it, weird deal. And so that's why I think if Oklahoma's going to land Krell, I would give it 2 to 3 weeks following his official visit to Oklahoma where I would say pretty definitively and conclusively that Oklahoma is the lead dog. I do feel like they go in as the lead dog. I think there's no reason why they shouldn't emerge from the OV as the lead dog. But the further you get away from that OV and he's still uncommitted, the door swings open just a little bit wider and a little bit wider. So if OU wants to close on Krell, I feel like it's got to happen pretty quickly.
Spartan Sooner says, do Jackson and Stone help any with Krell?
I tell you who Jackson and Stone will help with. Jackson and Stone will help a lot with two of the most important visitors of this weekend, defensive tackles Valdon Stone and Taj Overton. Those are who those guys will be mostly focused on. Them and Brian Harris, they're going to put the full court press on Valdon Stone and Taj Overton. Because if you can land those two, if you go 1 for 2, that's great. If you can go 2 for 2, holy smokes, what a defensive tackle class that is.
Brian Harris has also said he's going to be largely involved in the peer recruitment of Jake Krell.
Yes, and that he will be. Him and Will Conroy, both. So, I've gotten the sense for quite some time that Oklahoma has the upper hand. How long can you maintain that upper hand? Oklahoma's best chance to get Krell on board, and I'm not saying that chance to get him on board vanishes if he doesn't make a decision within 2 to 3 weeks of the OB, but their best chance to get him on board in the 26 class is wrapping things up with him pretty expeditiously after the OV is finished. Zach from Guthrie says, a lot of rich people in Utah, a lot of money. Well, there you go. My guest says, there are no broke Mormons. I can't speak to that.
I got nothing on that one.
Utah is a beautiful place, though. Say that much. It's remote out there till you get to civilization. But it is some beautiful country. I don't know that I've ever been to a stadium as beautiful as BYU's. That is a road trip in 2023 that I will always remember. It's a shame we won't get to do it again until who knows when. When's the next time Oklahoma's going to play BYU?
And when's the next time they're going to play at BYU?
Yeah, exactly. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Let's hit a couple of quick final texts. Krabby Sooner says, does BV insist on who he wants to play, or does he leave that up to position coaches? And will Arbuckle have any say in it? What do you think? Good question. To my understanding, that is largely up to the position coaches. It's kind of understood that Venables has veto power, if you will. Like if Brent Venables really, really wants a certain guy in the game, he can say, get this guy in the game, and they're going to get that guy in the game. But for the most part, it's up to the position coaches as to who's seeing the field in their units, and also up to the coordinators. You recall early in the 2024 season, there were rumblings that there was some dissension between the position coaches and Seth Luttrell, most notably, as to who was on the field in a given scenario. And so the coordinators will exert some influence over that. Brent Venables will exert some influence over that. But for the most part, it's going to be up to the position coaches. Now, on defense, you'd think Brent Venables would have a lot more influence than he would on the offensive side because he is the defensive coordinator in addition to being the head coach. So he is going to be the personnel czar, at least on game days, on that side of the ball. And that'll be Arbuckle with obviously plenty of oversight and collaboration with the offensive assistants on the offensive side of the ball. All right, folks. That brings us to the end of yet another fine program. Another fine installment of Locked In. For Grayson Singleton, I am Parker Thune. Always appreciate those of you that tune in to hear us talk OU recruiting, and certainly those of you that chime in and interact throughout the day via the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We will do it all again tomorrow. Same time, same place. Grayson's through for the day. I'll still be here. Be joining Teddy for The Rush coming up next. Keep it right here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.